Hello, welcome back to another video. This one's going to be a little bit different. Obviously no mountain bike content in this one because I'm sat in front of a computer. For those of you that don't know, I am a data engineer at a relatively large financial institution here in the UK. So I write code all day, every day pretty much. So this one's going to be a coding tutorial. Only a very simple one, only a really quick one. But something that hopefully people will get use out of. I'm going to show you the solution to a very popular question that gets asked at interviews for junior and maybe even some senior roles, I don't know, but definitely junior roles. And the question is FizzBuzz. So you might have done this in maths at school if you're from Britain, but essentially FizzBuzz is like it's like a maths problem. So what they'll say to you is, for every number between 0 and 100, if it's divisible by 3, then write fizz. If it's divisible by 5, write buzz. And if it's divisible by both 3 and 5, write FizzBuzz. So, seems pretty simple on the surface of it, but there are a few little pitfalls and traps that you can fall into if you don't know the process of writing this bit of code, basically. It's always good to practice this stuff, especially if you're going for interviews for junior roles, because you will get asked technical questions. It's part of interviewing for development and engineering roles that we all hate, but it's just a necessary evil. So hopefully, by the end of this video, you'll know how to write a really great solution to FizzBuzz and absolutely crush your interview. So let's get started creating our FizzBuzz program. Just a few little prerequisites. I'm going to be using this text editor, which is Visual Studio Code. It's all the rage at the moment in developer world. It's made by Microsoft and it's free. You can download it at the link here. I'll also pop this in the description below for you to go and get it. You don't have to use Visual Studio Code. You can use any text editor you want. You could use Notepad, which comes with your PC. You could use something like Notepad++, whatever tickles your fancy. This is going to work. But this is just the one that I'll be using. So let's make a start. So the first thing I'm going to do is just open up a command prompt window. Make a new directory. So just a folder for the file that we're going to create to live in. So I'm just going to say make directory FizzBuzz. I'm going to change into that directory. So I'm going to say cd FizzBuzz. And then I'm just going to do code dot. And what this will do is open Visual Studio Code for us at this location here, at this path. So it's just an easier way of doing it. You don't have to do it this way. You could go through File Explorer and right-click, create folder, but this is just a faster way for me. So I'm going to be writing this in JavaScript. It's probably the language that your interviewer will want you to use depending on what job you're going for. JavaScript is an easy language to learn. It's one that most beginners sort of start off with, so that's the one I'm going to use. So I'm going to start by creating just a normal JavaScript file, so let's just call it fizzbuzz.js. And this one is really simple. So they'll normally ask you for every number between 0 and 100. If it's divisible by 3, write fizz. If it's divisible by 5, write buzz. And if it's divisible by both 3 and 5, write FizzBuzz. So the first thing we need is a loop. We need a loop to be able to check every single number between 0 and 100. In JavaScript, this is called a for loop. So we're going to say for var I equals 0, I is less than 100, I plus plus. So let's break this down. So we're saying at the very start of all of our iterations, we want this variable here to be initialized with a value of 0. Because we want to start at 0 and count up to 100. And then while the loop is running, we're saying while our variable I has a value of less than or equal to 100, and it's very important that you get this, if you were just to do less than, the loop would stop at 99, but having the equals includes the 100. And then the final part of this says for every iteration, so for every completed loop, increase the value of I by 1 each time. So we're saying start at 0. Every time we look increase it by 1 until we get to 100, and then stop. So the next thing we need to do then is, while we're looping round and while we're iterating, is we need to check the value of I to be able to do something with it. So in order to check if a number is divisible by another number, or a number is a multiple of something else, we need to use the modulo operator, which is a percent specified like that. So this is an arithmetic operator in JavaScript. So what we're going to do is we're going to do if I modulo 3 equals 0 and I modulo 5 equals 0. Let's do something. So what modulo does is it will give you the remainder when two numbers are divided together. So obviously in our case, we want to make sure that I is a multiple of 3 or a multiple of 5. So if it is a multiple of either of those numbers, the remainder is going to be 0 because it goes into 3 or 5 exactly. So what we're going to say in here is then, if it is a multiple of 3 or a multiple of 5, we're just going to write out the number and then FizzBuzz, like so. So now we've got it to write out whenever the FizzBuzz condition is met. So the next thing we need to do is check numbers that are divisible by both 3 and 5, but sort of individually. So what I'm going to do now is use an else if. I'm going to say else if I modulo 3 equals 0. So we're checking numbers now that are only divisible by 3. Then we're going to do a similar thing. We're just going to write out the number, but this time we're just going to say fizz, like that. So let's check numbers that are only divisible by 5 now. So else if again. I modulo 5 equals 0. And you guessed it, we're just going to do a console.log. But this time we're going to say buzz. And then else, we're just going to write out the number. So this else is going to catch numbers that aren't divisible by 5, aren't divisible by 3, and aren't divisible by both 3 and 5. So that's our loop, and that's our code for this FizzBuzz program. So I'll just explain it a little bit more. So you might think when you're first starting out maybe that this is in the wrong order. You might be asking yourself why I haven't started with only numbers that are divisible by 3 and then moved on to only numbers that are divisible by 5 and then done numbers that are divisible by 3 and 5 at the end. And this is because when you're writing if statements like this, so with else ifs and else's and things like that, it will always, the result of this condition here will always evaluate to the first statement that's true. So what that means is, if a number's divisible by, if you were to write it a different way, so let's just say, for instance, we swap it around a bit, so we say I'm going to be lazy and copy this. So if it's to write this different way, like I just mentioned, where we check 3 and then 5 and then 3 and 5, this wouldn't work because we always evaluate to the first statement that's true. For a number that's divisible by 3, it'll work, and for a number that's only divisible by 5, it'll work because it's not, obviously it can't evaluate to this because it's not divisible by 3 if it's only divisible by 5. But for numbers that are divisible by both 3 and 5, it's not going to work. Because the number is divisible by 3, this is the first statement that evaluates to true. So whatever is in here is what will get run. It will never run what's in here. And that's why, in the example up above, we've done it backwards. So we check both 3 and 5 first, and then we check 3, and then we check 5, so that for numbers that are divisible by 3 and 5, this is the first statement that evaluates to true, and not like it was in the other example. So that's our program. It's pretty simple. So I'm just going to run it. If you're using Code Runner like I am in Visual Studio Code, you can just hit Ctrl-Alt-N, and you can see it comes up in our output down at the bottom. So 0 obviously goes into both 3 and 5, FizzBuzz. 3 obviously is a multiple of 3 but not of 5, so we get Fizz. 5 is obviously a multiple of 5 but not 3, so we get Buzz. And 15 is a multiple of both 3 and 5, so we get FizzBuzz. And let's check our loop works correctly. Remember me saying if you didn't use the less than or equals operator, it would stop at 99. So let's just have a scroll down, and you can see there's the result, inclusive of 100. And that's it. That's all there is to this. It's pretty simple, but it's a one that interviewers like to ask for junior roles. Trust me, I know. It's one that can catch you out if you've not done it before or not come across it. It's one that can catch you out, even though it's simple. It's not quite as simple as it might seem. So I know this is only a quick one. I know it's only a simple tutorial. If you like this, then and you want more, then let me know in the comments below, and I'll see if I can do something else. And yeah, hopefully this helps someone crush an interview. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.